Hello, everybody. It's me, Argent, and I'm here with my frequent co-host, Serp, and we're going to talk about some esoteric Chrisisms today. We're going to talk about the esoteric Platonic Thomas Aquinas CWC stuff. We're going to talk about Gnosticism. It's going to be a crazy show. So if you haven't already, go subscribe to my friend Serp's channel. Although a lot of his content had to get moved to Bitchute um, because of naughty things in YouTube. Hey man, good to have you on.
Thanks, I really appreciate it. So it's been very, very dense because the intensity of stuff coming out in Chris Chan history, Christory, or Quick, or whatever you want to call it.
Christory,
It's
I
been
think.
yeah, it's been it's been very, very dense. Say since you made your, I would say, very earnest and honest take of Chris.
Mm-hmm.
How many years ago did you record
God, is
that?
that like 5 years ago? When I think about it, I was recording it on my shitty laptop, so like it skipped a lot. But yeah, it was one of the first things I did on this channel. Um, I feel like I was more sympathetic to Chris than a lot of people.
Well, I think that you're less sympathetic than some of these so-called Christorians. Who's the Irish guy that Samuel Gino or
I'm not sure. There are. I thought like no one was sympathetic to Chris Chan.
yeah, Gino Samuel,
Mm-hmm.
the guy that has made the comprehensive history.
Right.
I would say he's immensely more favorable than you. Like
Yeah.
for instance, he calls us Christine, and like it's very interesting. This is a side note of how many people insist that the transsexual part isn't part of the larger story.
The transsexual thing is kind of confusing because on one hand, the reason that a lot of the frankly sociopathic people gave that it was justifiable that it was okay that they abused Chris was on the grounds that he was sorry, I lost my train of thought there. That he was homophobic and racist and stuff like that. So I found like half of them when he announced he was tranny went into cope mode, and they're like, "Oh, he's just faking it. He's still homophobic even though he's a tranny." And then the other half were like, just ignored it or something, or no, or, so I don't know. It's like maybe you can explain it better to me, but I feel like people, the A-logs weren't really sure how to react to it.
So personally, I believe that transsexuality. I'm gonna drop far right wing stuff here, I guess, right away.
Okay,
What would have been maybe
just
even less
don't
than
say the F
mild
slur.
centrist stuff. Okay, so I personally believe that transsexuality is a mental illness that can often be caught, or gender dysphoria would be a better use of the term, and that it can be brought on by severe disassociation or trauma, and that Chris has essentially become transsexual through intense trolling. Or it's very common for people that have been trolled or gaslit to disassociate and then become gender dysphoric and become trans. It's actually a very common thing among so-called lolcows.
Yeah, so I wasn't sure if it was because of that or because they thought it gave them a no bully card. Um, because
I don't
they
think there is a no bully card. I think that it's actually um, I think I don't know. I don't know if this is true in modern psychology. I actually don't really believe that like post traumatic stress order is the only mental illness that can be incurred due to stress. I actually believe that many mental illnesses can be developed non biologically, or
Well,
not completely biologically.
well,
That's my personal opinion, and I believe that he's developed gender dysphoria, and it's actually very common. And
right,
in
but
fact,
sorry, finish.
transsexuality is a phenomenon in the United States. Is probably associated with a mental health crisis in the United States.
Like I think part of it. Uh, Sorry. So my confusion is always because I feel like some people just go with it, because it immediately raises them to be the top of the social ladder.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you announce you're trans, then you go from being like a white cis male to being like the very top, being part of like Globo Homo and stuff like
Mm-hmm.
that. So I feel like people do that. Now I don't know if Chris is smart enough to do that, but I do feel like that's part of the whole bullying thing in some cases is they are doing it as a way to try to escape being bullied or to raise their social standing. But that might be me looking at it from too much of a pragmatic standpoint.
I just kind of say what they have to say. I just kind of see it on face value.
Okay. So apparently, so someone says autism is a massive risk factor in transsexualism,
It is. This is true.
and that he was interested in it beforehand. Yeah, because I think he made like dick
I
girls and
think he made
stuff.
gender flops and dick or gender swaps and dick girls before.
Yeah, prior to this whole thing. Um, so yeah, and Chris has always hated men. That's true. Isn't that a sign of uh, being LGBTQ? If you can't get along with other males.
Or at least heterosexual males of you, or
Yeah,
heterosexuals of your own sex.
yeah, because he can't. He's always hated other men. He claims because he so supposedly one of his psychiatrists said he interacted better with women. Um, so he just took that to heart, and he believes he doesn't have any way to deal with it. Also, there's just challenges for his love quest. Now, so I don't know. The whole thing is just insane with regards to that. But my point is, I just find the A logs don't know how to deal with the fact that he's a tranny now. Um,
Mm-hmm.
like I find most of them because most of them are like shit libs in their reason for the justification they gave for their sociopathic behavior was him being homophobic. So
Mm-hmm.
they have to just believe that he's not actually trans, or else it's like I don't know. You get what I say, though, right?
Yeah, I think there's some truth to this. I mean, so there definitely has to be some kind of timeline. In your video, you, I would say, covered the classic timeline. Um, I mean, there was essentially from the death of his father until his arms are not blue. There was a pretty very long lull, I would say, in the content. There wasn't very many trolls or anything. And apparently, what's been going on since the era of classic trolls is that there's essentially been numerous groups that developed on Kiwi farms trying to guide him into some kind of either protect him from trolls or try and guide him um, if they're more ambitious towards being self-sufficient. If they're less ambitious, eventually try and guide him to assisted living. And that it's difficult to tell um, any people he's in contact. And in fact, there's groups of like, I don't know if you, because some of them go between from being trolls to being trying to help him and switch back and forth. But apparently, these different groups are fighting. There's like numerous groups like guard dogs, and Watchmen and Praetors and so on. And at the same time, there was a saga which has not been fully documented very well of trolling, which is apparently the most intense trolling that's ever occurred, which
Was
is the Idea Guy
Yeah,
saga.
because I tried to read about that. The reason I didn't really cover Chris is just from the idea guys on, it just got so dense. Um,
It's very, very, very difficult to follow. Um, so I've been trying to get more updated it onto this recently.
mhm.
So the best place to find or to distill this, because like large sections of the quickie are very out of date and don't
Well, the quickie
take into
doesn't work
context.
anymore.
Well, the quickie, I'm able to pull up certain pages. It doesn't have enough servers
I'm having
for
to
what's
go
going on.
through caches. I'm looking at the idea guys now. I looked at it because it seemed like a combination of like far right talking points and like super like degenerate pause stuff.
Hmm.
So
Um,
okay, so it said that led to the foundation of the guard dogs, which was led by Null.
yes, and then there's numerous groups of these people that have tried to either help him if they're more ambitious, trying to like become self-sufficient, or if they're less ambitious, basically just prevent him from getting money. Because there's people that have used him to make money. Apparently, these teen trone people that were doing this, that were essentially selling his stuff and then giving him like very small snippets for their own financial gain, and just it's very bizarre. But we have to go back, because when you missed out on, is that you have to say that this modern saga, or I guess on the broken page of the Christery on the Quick Place, or the Quickie, it talks about what I would say is the Ideal Guy saga, which is this very huge pivot. Um, and that's where Chris begins to believe that he's some kind of god. Um, if that's fair.
Yeah,
And that's because these
is that where the
people.
dimensional merge came from, or did that
Yes,
exist
yes. So
beforehand?
it comes from so we don't have very much of their stuff, because most of this was occurring
Right.
behind the scenes. So which is very interesting in the history of these trolls, because during the classic arc of the trolls, it was more they were essentially trolling him to make him create content for them, either in the form of comics or in the form of
Spurg
videos, more
videos?
likely videos, yeah. But this is very dense, and it's very hard to understand what was happening, because it seems to be occurring behind the scenes, and it seems like Null used his powers of Kiwi Farms to basically break off these idea guys, but the idea guys have basically altered Chris into what appears to be like full blown schizophrenia, and this is where, through the idea guys, I think I'm trying to find the name of the
Because
guy
I've
that
tried to read
led
the
them.
idea guys, and I just couldn't even like. It's a really long page, and it didn't make a lot of sense. Um,
It's very well. Most of it's occurring behind the scenes, so we don't know exactly what's going on, and it's right. It's very strange, because there's all these layers of all these layers of all these people that are in communication with him in various levels, trying to like guide his life and protect him from like people like would be new trolls, something like Neo Blue Spikes or something like that. Yeah, Joshua Wise is the leader of the idea. He was the idea guy, or the
ironically,
leader of the idea guys. What?
that because generous Joss or Joshua Connor Moon is the owner of Kiwi Farms, aka Null.
Mm-hmm. I mean, maybe they're the same person. I don't know.
Uh, I
Um,
don't know.
So like um so apparently the Idea Guy saga comes from them, where there's so much here, but it's basically influenced out of the video game Hyperdimension, Nomen Tuna, and Rick and Morty, and it's
Does Chris watch Rick
the
and Morty?
I think so. So anyway, it's the idea that there's a numerous amount of dimensions. So during this Idea Guy saga, they would influence Chris by basically actually creating fake news that they would edit and send pictures of news outlets that they would edit to Chris privately of thing of like visions that they were having of stuff that were going on to Quickville, and Chris believed this fake news to be true, and that they influenced him into believing, essentially creating his own religion, if you will, which is this strange Gnostic or Neoplatonist type of religion, where Chris believes that he is essentially the focal point of all artistic endeavor, and there's numerous dimensions, and that the highest dimension is Quickville. In a sense, that's where the forms of Platonism or the highest version of Gnosticism take place. And Chris is a focal point who can observe art in its most primordial or
Someone
unaltered
says that he's
form.
the demiurge.
Uh, yeah,
Cause didn't he
yes, he
create?
would be the
Cause didn't he
demiurge.
create Quickville?
Yeah, under that logic, he'd be the demiurge. So yeah, he essentially believes himself to be some sort of demiurge-like character. Um, I don't there. So yes, he and so all artistic people, um, they're essentially recreate all fictional content, or most fictional content in the history of the world, essentially takes place in Quickville, and that when any creators, so say like Bram Stoker, when he writes about Dracula, he's seeing it through um, much hazier eyes than the focal point Chris would be. Or so when Stan Lee and Steve Ditko are making Spider-Man, they're seeing it through this hazy focal point. It's very much like Call of Cthulhu as well, where Cthulhu is influencing the minds of the artists. So the minds of all artists in the world are essentially seeing Quickville, and Chris is the one that's able to see it most clearly, and he essentially acts as the demiurge of this
It's
world.
literally like accurately. It's like accurate Neoplatonism.
Hmm.
Like it's the like metaphysics actually like work. I mean, are consistent
Yes,
with Neoplaton. So so the dimension merge is kind of like the
there's more
apocalypse.
to it. Yes, yeah. The it's like the apocalypse. Did you ever read like '80s DC stuff?
No.
Okay, so like there's this sense in like '80s DC where all the dimensions merge. So Chris believes that the Quickville dimension is going to merge into our dimension, and he's essentially the focal point and messiah of that, and that he is, um, yeah, he's essentially like a prophet of this mergence, and that he personally is able to communicate with the characters that he created. So he can personally communicate with Pokemon, his OC characters and Sonic characters and numerous other characters on a personal level. And in fact, he believes that he can transfer bodies with them. And he said that he's transferred bodies with both Rosaichu, I believe, and Sonichu.
Sorry,
Also,
he is?
yeah, Chris Chan says that he can transfer bodies with his characters. That he has transferred bodies with Sonichu and went in the body of Sonichu into Quickville while while Sonichu is controlling his body on Earth. And because he said he did this because he was bored during the coronavirus epidemic or pandemic in 2020. This is when it occurred. So he transferred into um, like Sonichu. I can't remember it exactly, but I think he believes he has the power to somehow end the coronavirus pandemic so that cons can happen again. He has some kind of he keeps attempting, I believe, through his power as a self-proclaimed deity or slash demiurge to try and end the pandemic in order for him to go to conventions again. Oh, sorry, it was Meiji-chan, not Rosachu. Sorry. Thanks, Fritz Imperial. Uh, yeah. Um, uh, there's so many. That's very. So basically, yeah, he thinks
I'm
he's a
sorry,
god.
dude. I kind of had trouble following some of that. It's not your fault. It's just okay. So basically, he fakes the apocalypse. Someone asked like the ultimate question: does everyone turn into Tang during the dimensional merge?
I don't think so. I think that what he believes is happening is that he's able to communicate with his OC characters. Keep in mind that he has had marriage ceremonies with his OC characters and is now married to three of his characters.
Who Sonichu, or are they all
Not
females?
Sonichu. They're I think two of them are females and one of them are male. He's come out as bisexual now.
Okay.
Um, so something that's very interesting in this is that there are people that as time has gone on, despite how decrepit and increasingly insane he has become, um, there are people that want to do Christian. There's another man. I'm trying to remember get his name here. Jacob Sockness, who also believes he's a god or is something of a messiah that wants to he he wants to have a romantic relationship, and he stalks Christian. He keeps threatening to go to conventions, and people believe that he'll try to rape Christian if they ever meet in real life. And
What?
then yes, and like they've like online dated and stopped dating and on and so forth, like numerous times, and or I think like once or twice. Sorry, and and basically a lot of these like protective groups of I don't know if you want to call them neo trolls or I guess just protective groups
White
are trying
Knights?
to be yeah not white yeah well maybe white knights are trying to basically um, go to cons with Chris and escort him to prevent him from being raped or killed.
Mm-hmm.
And one of these people apparently, so the people that recorded the incest phone call, one of them is trying to start a relationship, is a woman that's trying to start a relationship with Chris and doesn't believe, and believes that Chris only made up the stuff about Barbara and that he's innocent.
Right.
Um,
Um. Right.
um, I mean, do you know about how he sent all the death threats to Trump and stuff too?
Was that when he threw the Lego Trump into the container of urine?
Yeah, sent stuff like that.
Yeah. Why did he hate Trump?
Because he believes Trump will persecute homosexuals
Right.
or abrosexuals. I'll use that term.
Right. So you're saying that guy still doesn't believe that Chris did anything, even after
The
the.
girl, well, yeah, she recorded it and she didn't believe it. I don't know if she currently believes it, but her name is her screen name is Fiona. There's two women that were conducting a group chat with him, um, and the full contents of it aren't known. Only 21 minutes of the believed 2 hours have been leaked so far, and they're trying to protect their identities.
Sorry, this
Personally,
is
I
the
don't.
person who was talking to Chris Chen when he admitted to this stuff?
Yes, one of them was a woman that's trying to start a relationship with him in real life.
Wait a minute, so there's a girl? It's not just like some
Yes,
gay dude?
Yeah, well, the gay dude's trying to rape him. The girl wants to have a relationship with him.
How hideous is she?
Uh, there are no photos.
Oh, okay.
There was a reasonably attractive woman that tried to start a real physical relationship with him for as well.
Mm-hmm.
Beforehand, I forget her name.
Yeah. I mean, so I'm just trying to think of where even to go yet. Um,
Um, yeah. So I did I tell you about the teen troons?
no, go on to the teen troons. Okay.
So
Oh,
the
firstly,
teen,
do you think that Chris actually had sex with a prostitute, or did he make that up?
I think he did. I also think that he's probably had gay sex at gay bars.
I don't, because a lot of people think he did have sex with the prostitute. I just am gonna have to press X to
Personally,
doubt.
believe it.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to press X to doubt.
It's okay. There are numerous stuff that could be doubted.
The police did do a rape kit though, so like
Or is that? Do you have source on that? I don't have source on that.
okay, because
I
some
think that's a rumor.
okay,
Think that our friend just said that's a rumor. It doesn't appear. I can't find a source on that.
okay. If someone in the chat knows a source for where that actually happened, could you let me know? Um, where
I quickie when I do Control F on the incest thread. There's no rape kit.
okay. I mean, if they can even update the quickie at this point, so who even knows?
No, this is like there's extensive knowledge on this page on the quickie. It's
Right.
very updated. It's
Okay.
been like it's essentially been updated to today.
Right.
It says what jail he's in and so on.
Okay. So yeah, I don't even. So do you think he raped his mother? Or okay,
Yes.
let's take a step back. Do you think that he engaged in sexual relations with his mother?
Yes.
Do you think it was consensual?
They're both in a mental state that neither of them can consent.
Right. Okay. I mean, I'd agree with that. I personally I hope people aren't going to take this the wrong way. I don't really think that Chris is honestly morally responsible for the things he does, and he hasn't been for a long time. Um,
Hmm.
I think that most of this you could blame on. You can blame on the trolls. I think you could also blame the state for like this dude should have been in an institution for years. Um,
Okay, so more updates to your video. Can I continue again?
oh, sure, go on.
So another saga that occurred was the Teen Troon saga, and this is where the guard dogs try to influence them. It was like a local group of transsexuals who sold much of his stuff online to give him for their own financial benefit. And then apparently they said that they tried to convince Chris that he could survive being a tasered because Chris has declared that he's not human. He's a part full-blooded Sonichu, and that in fact his own father was a Sonichu as well, and that's how he inherited it.
Right.
Um, you, d- I think he also threatened to kill Sonic, the creators behind Sonic after Sonic Boom, but also the creators of My Little Pony: Friendship is Magic.
Right. Didn't people argue that there was an episode of Sonic Boom that was based on Chris Chan?
There are actually two episodes of it that are.
Wow. Was it confirmed or was it just strongly implied?
One is confirmed, one is denied, but strongly implied.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so like keep in mind this is national news. Most major news outlets are covering this now.
So like, are
the
people are
current
talking
NCIS
about the
start.
deep lore? I'm kind of wondering like how they're covering it. Like,
They just say that uh, infamous internet man.
or do they say infamous internet girl? I mean, do they use the proper pronoun? Like, what pronoun do they use?
I haven't looked into it.
Because I'm kind of curious now. Let me see here. Let me just look at a couple random ones. Uh, I'm just looking at a couple of these. Okay, so Daily Mail says her. Let's see here. Okay, you can keep going. I'm just looking this up.
I just kind of wanted to do an update on your video, and then we can talk about what the future holds and our personal thoughts on what's come to happen. I didn't really intend this to be like 2 hours long.
Right. No, sorry. I was just taking a side. I was just seeing what pronoun they used. I think most of them say her, um, or they just deliberately tried to avoid it. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
so okay. So yeah, there was. Oh,
The
okay.
woman that
Yeah,
tried to start a physical relationship with him in real life was Jessica Quinn.
Jessica Quinn. Okay. So there was. Okay. So sorry. I'm just kind of. My mind's in a bit of a fog after all that nonsense. So, I don't think Chris is in a position to consent either. Um, I think he should have been in like an institution decades ago. I personally, my personal take on this is a failure of the justice system because I feel they kept letting him get away with things.
Okay,
Uh,
I mean we can go through this and see um
or no, is there something
like,
else you wanted to bring
oh, I
up?
mean let's go through this. Okay,
Okay.
so like before you could say the so-called on the Christery, the pre-internet sagas, right?
Hmm.
Um, the loitering and the threatening of the leader of Mary Lee Walsh, who led the community college. So one run-in with the law. I don't exactly know the nature of what happened at Target.
Is the claim
He
that
got
he
arrested
assaulted
at Target.
someone or
Didn't he? I don't know if he was loitering or some. It's very obscure. The I think it's in the third issue of Sonichu where he gets arrested at Target.
right?
Um, and then you have death threats to Adam Stackhouse, sent to Sony, I believe. Um, numerous death threats to Encyclopedia Dramatica, the creators of what do you call it? Asperchu, um, him traveling to meet, I think was it Blanca Weiss in real life, and being declared missing because he didn't tell his parents. You have him trying to, uh, him and his mother, I believe, trying to use vehicular assault on Michael Snyder.
Yeah, okay, so to me that's when it kind of crossed the line. Like all the other stuff is just normal retarded internet shit that I assume the police would just roll their eyes at. When he tried to literally run a dude down for banning him from the place. Um so I don't know how he was able to get away with that. I feel like they probably should have thrown the book at him over that one. I think Barb like used the all the money left behind by Bob to hire some really high profile um, person to defend
Mm-hmm.
them, And it got it off as almost nothing.
Hmm. So there's an attempted vehicular assault attempted vehicular assault or vehicular assault. Um, then there's is mace considered a deadly weapon?
I'm not sure it's a weapon. I'd count it.
Assault
Yeah.
assault with mace in a public area. So assault of mace with the sonic boom incident. Um, publicly saying that he wants, numerous death threats, including to the president. Um, and now the current crisis.
Hmm.
I think those are all the run-ins with the law.
Didn't he get off with basically nothing? For
He got
the
off with probation and fines, I think.
Yeah, I mean, isn't there other stuff, illegal stuff he's done? Like, I guess because his parents won't press charges when he steals money from them. Um,
Keep in
what?
mind that that one of the main reasons he's probably been arrested is because he stole his mother's bank account when it was under observation and he stole money from it.
Right. I think that happens quite a bit. Um, uh, um, sorry, it's so much. It's just kind of blowing my mind just trying to sort through this all again. Yeah, I think there's probably some other illegal stuff. Like, isn't I mean, he's committed fraud. I don't know if it's strictly illegal, like when he took people's money and then didn't deliver the products. Is that illegal? Or.
Um, yeah, I mean, I don't know if it is. It's not. It's definitely not enforced online because it's so
Right.
common online.
Mm-hmm.
There's
Uh,
like a long list of times he's been confronted by the police. Um, there's numerous times he's been confronted by the police.
so, did they ever. So, the people who were giving him money. Sorry, the government institution, did they just never check in on any of this stuff?
So he's had to take mandatory counseling twice. I know.
I think it's they get so many prank calls that they're just tired of and that they just tend to ignore it and think he's just this harmless idiot. We're just not going to keep going. But then it's like this stuff comes out and they're like, this is serious enough. We actually have to go in. But what made me mad is that he's numerous times he's led to the premature death of multiple pets and stolen cats.
Oh yeah, yeah. He has stolen cats and killed cats and dogs.
His dog that recently died I mean, it was older, but it was 7 years old, or they got it in 2012. And he said early on, it slipped on a bunch of their piles of crap and garbage in their house and broke its leg, and so Chris never walked it, so it was really fat. And then he stole a cat that wandered in onto his property, and it died 2 weeks later, probably from getting infected from his disgusting house.
Or malnutrition.
Well, didn't Bob die because of insects that were infesting their house because of how filthy it
He
No,
was?
it was heart failure. It was
It
heart
would,
failure.
but
They
it
just
could be
found bug
contributed
bites.
to the bug bites.
Right.
It can be a contributor.
So
to
my
that. It
understanding,
was bed bugs.
someone says arson. My understanding was there was something that was plugged in the bathroom, but the cord was over the top of the
So
door.
okay, so from my understanding, what happened is he used several So I think he lived on the second floor, and that he plugged in a coffee maker into his bathroom next to his room, and then used several extension cords, including one that went through a door that he would shut on top of it, went over the stairs to cook coffee, and it caused an electrical fire that burned down the house.
Right. Which
So sorry
is
for dropping in.
oh, it's okay. What was I thinking of again? Um, Yeah, I don't know what to say about that exactly. Um,
Interesting about Chris is he's like the ultimate grifter, and he's also almost like it's like he's an anti-Gnostic in the sense that Gnostic, they believe the purely spiritual, non-material is good and material is bad. But like Chris is like such an extreme materialist. He's like the opposite. Anything that's material, anything that's pop culture, anything that's like, just grounded in fulfilling base desires, that's good. And any sense of like transcendent learning, any sense of like real spiritualism that isn't playing with magic rocks is evil and terrifying to him.
Oh yeah, Argent. I don't know if you're aware of this. He uses crystals now, and his medallions are built in with like New Age
oh, I
crystals.
didn't actually even know
Like
that.
he was
Yeah,
real into new age stuff, and
yeah,
he's
yeah,
talked about how he's like learned to move paper with his mind waves.
yeah. So
Based?
this might have to do with Jacob Sockness, as he believed he was some sort of New Age god
It was
before
earlier than
Christian did,
that.
or is
It
that
was
part of
earlier
their
than that.
relationship?
No, no, no. Sockness was in 2019. I think Chris started like playing with magic
But
rocks
that
in
has
like
to do with the
2017.
idea, guys.
Partially, but it was also something he was kind of into. What's interesting about Chris is that if he had been raised in like kind of a strong Southern Baptist or maybe like Roman Catholic upbringing, he probably would have become an atheist the second that they like challenged or like opposed him living how degenerate he was. But like you said in your video, Argent, like because he part of this problem comes from the fact that since he was brought up in a liberal Protestant church, that's like just gave him a spiritual upbringing that says you can do whatever you want, makes you feel good, and so he just kind of moved on from that to like in his comic, Angela Rose Chu, like she originally like was found in the church, but then like of course when Chris became New Age, she like converted the church into like a temple of all religions, and he talks about his house as if it's a temple.
Yeah, wasn't she like a Catholic nun or something?
Yeah, yeah.
Of course, I'm sure she's had sex with everybody else.
Yeah,
Um,
and of course it's a lot of it's incestuous considering that all of the Sonnies and all of the Sonichus and Rosechus call Chris father. So are they all brother and sister?
yeah, isn't Sonichu like a minor character in Sonichu?
He rapidly, yeah, early on, like he rapidly becomes like more and
Is
more
it by
minor.
issue 3 where Chris is the main character and it talks about the incident at Target?
Mhm. It eventually just becomes like elements of Chris's life of what a lot of it reminds me of is kind of like there's the scene in the Matrix where Agent Smith says like how the first plan of the Matrix was a complete disaster because we tried to make this beautiful paradise for everybody like heaven, and
Yeah.
nobody believed it was real. That Quickville's kind of like that where Chris is like the god or god king of his own world, but like it's not like this paradise where there's like women fawning over him. It's just like loosely modeled off of Charlottesville, Virginia, and like in their
He's a demiurge.
yeah, but it's like in his comic, he's in his like you know in his own universe, he's still getting like kicked out of malls and like Burger King by the cops, by the jerk
And Mary Lee
cops.
Walsh is one of the main villains.
Hmm.
It's interesting how Count Graduon is the.
Is one of the big villains, yeah.
Yeah. Um, I don't know. Didn't he actually put out some more Sonichu volumes in the last couple of years?
Yes, he's in fact received a lot of money on Patreon to do so, but neglects to actually go through with it. I don't think a volume has been made or an issue has been made in 2 years at this point.
Because if Chris was less retarded, he would have actually made a lot of money through grifting.
Well, it's very arguable that it's definitely in the top 10 most famous online comics ever made.
But even just like selling medallions and stuff, like I'd considered buying one in
Keep
the
in
past.
mind, it was very so. If you would have bought those medallions, that was done by trolls. who were giving Chris like McDonald's in order to that he wouldn't get upset that they're selling them. That was his payment for them earning like thousands of dollars off the medallions.
Because that was the thing. It's like, you know, how he would like sell Sonichu amiibos, but like obviously he's not going to make a profit off of it because he's like buying the Crayola model Magic and like the amiibos, but then like he couldn't have. Although like he will also like way overprice things, obviously beyond the fact that like you know, uh, his artwork is questionably good at best. But he did sell the Son. Have you ever seen the Sonichu totem or the Sonic totem?
Yeah, the I think it was one of the relics of fail.
It was like something he made in an art class once, and it just looks absolutely, legitimately horrifying. And it's just like if that's not proof that there's demons involved.
Oh, let me see if this will open. Nope, not working.
You guys, is there anything else you want to talk about now that you're here, or do you want to go into the what's going to happen in the near future and what your opinions are?
I mean, I just want to kind of say of like what I was looking. It's something I've noticed with a lot of these lol cows is that like connecting like just some similarities between like Chris and like DSP and like Wings of Redemption is like a lot of these people. It's like in an RPG if you rolled like really low base stats but really high luck. It's kind of like how these lol cows remain fascinating is that they're completely incompetent individuals, but somehow they keep catching breaks where they're allowed to continue going on with it. You know, like getting the neat bucks or like Chris is like coherent enough to do bad things to people, but he's, you know, retarded enough that he'll get away with it most of the time. And so I just kind of thought that this would because there's a channel that goes out over like the more recent Christian stuff called Gibby.
Yeah,
And
we talked about that earlier.
yeah, and like most it's like the last thing Chris uploaded was his latest thing, I guess in the same vein as the Sonic Arms Are Not Blue saga, is that the Generation 4 My Little Pony, which is, you know, where the bronies come from, that's the whole thing of yep, there's the Sonic totem, but where like that's where the bronies came from, that's the cartoon. That's ended and they're now gonna like make a new piece of crap like 3D animated one that's Gen 5, and Chris has just been insistent that no, that is canceled. That's not real. They're not gonna make Gen 5. And his last video was like, it showed him in his room, and like there's like it looks like he punched holes in his wall because he was so mad. That and then like that was, and I thought that's just gonna keep going on for another 5 to 10 years until Barb dies and he's finally gonna be homeless. But no, now this is.
So. I want to talk about the end game because I don't believe he'll become homeless, and I think that he'll.
He'll be
I
in
think
prison.
I don't think he's going to be in. He will either be put in a mental institution, put in a prison, or some group of trolls will act as caretakers because the level of trolls where you get the Watchmen and the Praetors and these groups that are trying to help him and the Teen Troons and Sockness, it's gone to a point where it's like there are people that are in active anticipation of Barb's death so that they can take control of him.
I've seen a live stream though where there was one of those guys who, you know, who's like, you know, we had this whole. He was talking. I think maybe Mr. Medicare or somebody was on it, and he was like talking about how, like, not Medicare, but like this guy was talking about how it was on the Kiwi farms. Like, we had this whole plan of like one.
Hi, I'm
once Barb
Cole
dies,
Smithy.
If the day after she dies, we're gonna kind of roll up it onto at to Chris's house, and we're gonna like pick him up and make him so he's not homeless. But he said just how toxic and annoying and just disgusting Chris is. It annoyed him to the point that they just couldn't help him anymore. Like Null was like has like the patience of a saint of just like
Of a demon.
he has the no because like Null was just like so gracious of like always trying to he was trying to help Chris, like genuinely help Chris, and like the he it finally snapped when like because part of the restraining order or part of the protective order against Barb is that like Chris cannot interact with her or her bank account in any way, and he stole money from her, and Null has access to Chris's email because after the Ideas Guy saga, he was given access to Chris's email so he could filter out the spam and the trolls. And so eventually he um he saw that, oh, Barb's bank account sent $750
How
to
much did
Chris.
How much was Chris Chan getting on Patreon?
I think like a couple $100 maybe.
Okay, because I'm looking at Cole Smithies, so he has 4 patrons for $49 a month.
People have asked, what is Cole Smithy, who is, if people don't know, is Chris's half brother. Like, he's Barb's other son, who I liked the cookies entry. Just says he is the soul escapee of the Casa del Chandler.
So I was looking at it. Um, he uh he hasn't posted anything on Twitter in like a couple months. I didn't see any comments on the videos on his YouTube channel. I'm just trying to see if he's like put out a statement anywhere. He calls himself the smartest film critic in the world.
And he gave Toy Story 3 a negative review. So
There was a
Toy
couple
Story,
things he did
he's
that.
like good, but like his review is correct.
but I mean, the thing is, numerous times he's kind of stated how he hates Barb, he hates Chris, he hated Bob, and I think you pointed out this Argent in your video that he said the only way he'd interact with Chris is if Chris was able to find out who his real father was.
Yeah, Chris asked him to vote for him in some contest, and he said that he'd only do it if he found out who his real father was. Yeah, I haven't seen any information on any new stuff on Cole Smithy's website from the
He probably
last
wants
month.
nothing to do with this.
No, but
But
even like before this.
mhm. But what's funny is that what was I gonna say is that I forgot. Sorry, but
Cole Smithy's also a massive shit lib. Not that it's really
yeah.
relevant.
But at least he's not at least he didn't do what Chris did.
Well, the irony of Cole Smithy is he's much less successful than his brother and much more successful than his brother.
Mm-hmm.
Because he's less in the sense that he um he
He's less famous.
yeah, he's less famous. Like he has zero comments on anything he does. No one really cares about him. No one will give him money on Patreon, any of that stuff. But he's not Christian, so I mean that's the other side of it. Like I'm looking at his Facebook page. He has 17,000 subscribers and none of the and no comments on any of them. So it doesn't look like he's even relevant enough that people are trying to A-log him on any of the social media platforms he's on.
I was gonna say is a very ironic thing is that Chris was arrested in a motel in Richmond, and I don't know if this is true, but it's so of the money he stole, and after lying to Noel's face one last time, that's when Noel cut contact with him. But he apparently the motel couldn't have been that expensive. It didn't cost $750, but the account showed that Chris spent $150 at the mall, and so he's still freaking spending money on toys and Lego and what else and junk food, even after all of this. And ironically, or somebody pointed out that I think that may have actually been the same mall where this all started when the God Bear, told him his name should be Christian.
I thought you said God Bearer for a minute, and I'm like, what does Mary have to do with this?
No, God Bear.
No, I know. I did
Yeah.
a double take.
And it's this is where it all started, and it's where it all ends.
I don't think it's gonna end.
Okay, we'll get to that in a minute. I just had re his arrest. I think it's amazing that Ralph is the one who captured his arrest on film. It's like a passing of the torch. He is taking over the position of number one lolcow on the internet from Chris Chan. The day after, okay, so sorry, we'll get back to. I just have to say a couple things about Ralph. So the day that Ralph, yesterday. So okay, sorry. It's so much deep lore. Okay, so Ralph's pregnant teen girlfriend gave birth to the child a little while back. Ralph is not on the birth certificate as the father, which is called a paper abortion, which is funny because his
They're saying it's called being a cuck.
yeah, but it's he has a thing you can't abort the retort. So he was blackmailing Faith into sending him pictures of his son, Xander. The irony is that Xander is also the name of his arch nemesis, Dispatch, aka Xander. So I don't know if Faith named the child after his arch nemesis, which would be amazing if that was true. But yeah, so anyways, so Mr. Vickers, her father, found out about it and filed a restraining order against Ralph. And yesterday was the court date where Ralph was supposed to show up and make his case. But Ralph was dealing with the Chris Chan stuff. So Ralph missed like his only opportunity to start the battle to try to get visitation rights for his son. So he
know something even more. His girlfriend said yes to marrying him.
Yeah, now he's marrying the crypto Jewish pedophile female to male tranny.
Well, the only thing that could make this even more complete is if Yandere Devs finally sets a date of the release of.
Okay, I'm gonna ask a question in the chat. Sorry, Serp, we'll get back to this in 1 second. Is cucking Digibro based? Because
Is Digibro a man or a woman?
do you guys know who Digibro is?
Oh yeah, no, I really like the podcast he was on, Procrastinators. They do a lot of really good videos called like the PCP lectures, where they're kind of like faux lectures, kind of like one of them explaining all the lore of Guilty Gear or all the lore of Final
Serp, do you know who Digibro is?
No.
Okay, we'll get back, but he's basically a pedophile anime reviewer, and Ralph cucked him by taking away his fiance, so now she's gonna marry Ralph. But it's just kind of funny because it's like the passing of the torch.
What's the evidence that Digi's a pedo? I thought he just became trans.
He said his fantasy was to have a little sister that he fucks in a cabin in the woods, and then when she goes through puberty to commit murder suicide with her.
Oh, so it's like that movie God Bless America.
Oh, well, whatever. But okay, so that stuff happened. So, Serp, you were doing some good like quasi schizo posting the other day about how Chris Chan is like some portal into the mind of God or something, or God sent him here to like prove something.
So do you know like the concept in like various fascist ideologies of the Age of Heroes?
Isn't that just universal in all mythology?
Oh, I mean, like in the fascist or neo-traditionalist concept of the Age of Heroes.
No, why don't you just go over it?
Okay, so basically, the Age of Great Men has ended, and we've entered a Kali Yuga, an Age of Chaos. So now that we have the anti-hero, and not in terms of somebody who's bad who gets things done, but in terms of the inverse of this Age of Heroes of Great Men, we have Chris, the pathetic man, for a pathetic age, who's the focal point of our era.
Right. Do you think? Yeah, because so do either of you think there's a higher, like metaphysical purpose behind Chris? Like that God put him here as like a reflection of how degenerate we are, like, as some sort of latter day prophet?
For me personally, is that like Chris is in a way for me, he's been kind of a test spiritually of like why God loves everybody, and like you know in the Garden of Gethsemane, Jesus apparently now has to have like seen everything Christian's done and still die for him, and it sometimes it makes me question of like God, why did you put a person like this and have a person like this on this earth? But the thing is, for me, like, I believe in Satan. I believe that demons exist, but I feel like human beings, the vast majority of the, like, 99% of the time, are responsible for our own suffering and evil. Like, and Chris is kind of a prime example of that. He's like the embodiment of kind of the postmodern zeitgeist, right? Like, everything from the autism to like you know, just extreme materialism. And like, that's something I would emphasize. He's an extremist materialist.
Sir, could you you said something really interesting about how he came about at the beginning of Web 2.0 and he's arrested at the end of Web 3.0?
So the idea of so the early internet is where you had websites where you share stuff yourself, but you can't really communicate very well. So the idea of Web 2.0 is where you have the rise of social media, YouTube, video uploading sites,
Like when
chat
MSN
boards.
became a thing?
That's where, starting around 2004, 2005, you have an internet where people can interact with each other online, as opposed to only posting things for each other to watch or to see. And that Christian, his legacy as the greatest locale in history, if you will, began at the beginning of Web 2.0, and as the United States becomes a dictatorship, and the internet worldwide following the United States, because the United States founding aspect of the internet is going to go in corporations gain monopolies over um, multiple aspects of the internet, and firewalls are going to be built around the world, and Web 2.0 ends, then so if this is where the Chris Chan saga ends, isn't it only fitting for the end of the internet? In a sense, he's an avatar of the internet. He is everything wrong with the internet. He is everything, the darkness of the communication of the autists to each other on the internet. Their ultimate flower is him. So as he has come up and flowered during the beginning of it, he will wither at the end of it.
So why don't you
Aw.
talk a bit about uh so what do you think is going to happen?
I think he'll probably get off.
You just think they're going to just they're just that's actually my take. When this first thing just started, I just thought the whole thing was going to get thrown out because there's a state, and this is a thing in Canada, and I know people have this where you're crazy enough to not be held legally responsible, but you're not crazy enough to get um
He'll do it.
yeah, to be sorry put into an asylum or something. So you could basically just do whatever you want, and you'll get away
I
with
kind
it.
I kind of disagree. I think he's gonna face jail time, unless like I mean, people have argued that there's a possibility it could be brought up to the Supreme Court. The only reason I don't think it would is just because it's just way too embarrassing for anybody involved to have to take
Why
it.
would it go to the Supreme Court?
In the state of
Because
Virginia, sorry,
transsexuality would cause it to go to the Supreme Court.
because in the state of Virginia, like they don't actually have a precedent for incest when it comes to a mother and daughter, and so it would be like, it is, do they have to consider Chris a woman or a man?
Oh, it's
Because
not illegal. Sorry, transsexualism for
incest for a mother and daughter is not illegal in the state of Virginia.
what?
Because it's never happened.
There's never been any reported case of it, so it's like, okay, if Chris identifies as a woman, does that mean this was not illegal? But the thing is, if him violating that protective order, and also if they determine that Barb is certainly not lucid enough to actually have consented, then obviously there will be charges. There's charges beyond incest that are going to be incoming.
Well, couldn't it also be like rape charges or something? Or could we get into a
Yeah.
scenario
I
where
think in that state is incest automatically considered rape though?
No, it's its own.
Okay,
crime.
so it's its own. Okay, because isn't in many states it's considered a type of rape,
I'm not sure, but I know
like a statutory rape.
It is a. I mean, again, this is such a bizarre case. They probably don't have a solid precedent on this, because even on the police report, it says like they charge as incest of a child of a parent and like grandchild or something. It's not mother and son or daughter or whatever. Have you seen the thing where with SJW saying, "Look, we know Chris is bad, but you have no right to misgender him."
so Serp, you
Yes.
basically think that because he's trans and because he's not
I don't think it can be proved, and I think that even a public like I think he's going to get assigned a public defender. Um, the public defender can just go on Quickie and they just be like, Chris has been trolled and is saying these numerous things before. Chris has been trolled to say he's a pedophile. Chris has been trolled. Where's a videotape of him being forced to shove something up his ass? So I don't think Chris will be put in jail. Now the question would be Chris just be let off, or would he be put in a mental institution at that time? And I think that essentially they would not put him in a mental institution because maybe it's just too high. This time it just seems too strange for them to put because the car ramming incident is much more. I feel like unless the public defender really is the evil cartoonish public defender that wants to have his defendants suffer, I think it's fairly easy to put doubt into the validity of the statement.
Even in that case, Chris is still screwed because the fact that they're not going to let him go back to live with Barb, and they're not going to let him go back to.
I mean, they might.
Why?
Because she won't press charges.
But the thing is, she's not cognizant enough.
But they have to prove that, and that's extremely difficult.
Okay, they have to prove that she's not cognizant. Okay, so she's not going to press charges. Technically, you could argue that it's not even illegal if he did do it because of the hole in the law for mother-daughter incest. I don't know. It depends. Okay, so assuming there might not even be physical evidence. Is there even physical evidence? Like,
as far as I know, there isn't.
They're currently they brought her into a hospital like the day that this happened, and they were running tests to see if she was actually molested or not.
Because I've heard people say that, and I've heard that people can't find that. I mean, if there's no... So if the incest angle isn't legal, and neither of them can consent, then couldn't this whole thing just get thrown out? Like,
I think it's just going to get thrown out. And I think that the public defender has I think that, I think that I could cause it to be thrown out just with what's on the Quickie. Just with what's publicly available through, even the Blue Spike trolling.
So, the idea being that what he admitted to was just him delusional, or someone manipulated him into saying it?
That's what.
Well, so all the audio that we have that would be your evidence is heavily manipulated. As far as we know.
He admits that he did it, and
because the people, people are trying. So the audio that we have is heavily edited. So these people are probably committing a crime, and that they didn't. This is conjecture. Unless they turned in the full audio, the audio isn't very good evidence.
But would it even... Because couldn't they just make the argument that Chris has said all kinds of shit over the years that isn't
Yes,
true?
I think that's a very good argument that any public defender would use, and it's very easy to use it.
And he's
I
been
think it'll
bribed and
easily
coerced.
result in it being thrown out.
Like he could say that like yeah, a public defender could say that Chris was coerced into saying that, like every other time he said something like that. Um
The thing
Also,
is, though,
here's the thing with this. We don't know who Bella and Fiona really are, so it could be revealed that this is like that they didn't. We don't really know. This is only from what's emanating through Kiwi Farms that this is that they were trying to troll him for other purposes, and this came up. Right, that's their story,
well, I
but
mean,
it's
we don't we
possible they
don't
could have trolled him to go into jail. We
well,
don't have the audio. We don't really know.
well, we don't even know who these people are, so they can't really give evidence, can they, if we have like no idea who they are?
they're also not going to want to do any of that because they want to remain anonymous in case they could be considered complicit.
Yes, and that's why I don't think it will stick.
Thing is, though, okay, like let's say what happens then, because I disagree on whether or not like this is going to lead to anything, but I'm saying let's say you're right and like Chris, he's found innocent or they throw the case out. Is he just going to be back in his house yelling about My Little Pony while his mother gets more and more decrepit?
So who would need to so sorry, so if someone was going to investigate rather than
Okay. Okay. So the quickie says that the quickie. Okay, I'm going to read what the quickie has. It was found that the incest was partially the work of a group of enablers, which included Bella. These enablers all kept quiet about the incest for a month and downright encouraged Chris to sexually engage with Barbara, despite it becoming abundantly clear that Chris was a danger to Barbara. They did all this just so that they could have the attention and bragging rights from leaking such information about him.
I mean, isn't that illegal?
Yes.
That's why I might press a little bit of an X doubt of why they would do that. Like for just attention.
How many trolls has there been?
That's a good point. I mean, Blue Spike, engage. I mean, the things he did. That's a good point.
These teen troons apparently were trying to cause him, like, record him tasing himself.
I really
the idea guys are apparently trying to record him beating Barbara. So,
thing is also with Barbara, right? Is numerous times during the e-begging videos, like it's pretty clear that like she overplays her dementia or senility in order to extract pity donations.
So would it be the court that would make a determination if she doesn't press charges? Wouldn't the state have to pursue that?
Most rape cases are thrown out, Argent. Like the vast majority of them are thrown out.
Well, especially
my knowledge of like real life, like it's just thrown out. Like very few of them stick.
But I mean, couldn't once again? This is assuming Chris is sane enough to be found like legally responsible for whatever happened. If there's actual evidence that it happened, I don't know. I just feel that there's so many holes in this, and it's just there's I don't know like what if I think they'd have trouble just finding specific crimes to charge Chris Chan with. Like beyond just saying the whole thing is degenerate as fuck. Like I think the public defender could also make the argument that this is just discrimination against Chris because he's trans or something like that.
Or he's trans and he's got autism.
Yeah.
The thing is that like if they find him, that's almost even worse because as we've seen is that with the financial crisis and all that, it's like he's like the one person that's made me feel bad for creditors because there's his financial situation is basically such that he can get away with getting into as much debt as he's like the U.S. government in that he can basically get into as much debt as he wants and never face consequences because, like, you know, he gets into all this debt and has to go to a court hearing. But the thing is, they can never actually. There's no possible way they can get money from him because any of his monthly tugmo he gets from the government that can't be garnished, and any money he gets from like Patreon or people giving him money, he just spends on toys immediately. So there's no way they can get any of his
Well,
money.
it probably just doesn't. I mean, that's a whole other issue. Maybe it'll be like Al Capone and they'll get him on tax fraud. Because I doubt he reports any of that money to the government.
Or
Um,
maybe just in such small amounts that they don't, that it doesn't matter.
I mean, I just decided a while, like when I started running ads, I'm just going to report it on my taxes. So later on, like it's not going to come back to bite me. But,
When you're whatever the Canadian equivalent of FEMA camps are.
Human Rights Tribunal.
Well, I don't put down like Argent. I just put it down as small business income, just because I figure it's better to just pay the like $5 or whatever it is. But no, I don't know. I could see him going back to. Sorry. So there's a protection order, not a restraining order?
Protection order.
Mm-hmm.
So do you think there's a chance that could get lifted and he just goes back to live with Barb again?
I don't know how it works, but something like that.
I don't think she'd want to live with him anymore. And the thing is, even if all that happens, he's not going to get any money from the Weens or any of those people anymore. Like,
Extreme doubt.
really, you think people are still going to get send him money?
Oh yeah,
very
no.
clearly, yeah.
People are gonna
Yeah,
send him
they-
more money.
Oh,
I think that it's going to. It either ends in him in a mental institution because it's. I mean, it. There's so many more people that are just crushing the view counts on videos they're talking about on him right now and subscribing. Like Gino Samuel or GB are like going up by like tens of thousands of subscribers in like a day. There's so many, like the quickie is down. I think that once he loses his house, there'll be numerous sagas of him essentially couch surfing for years, is what I was going to say.
Or is his health problems gonna catch up with him at some point? Or
that's I'm amazed by.
There's
right?
people, he might have diabetes that's unrecognized. I don't know.
He drinks a full 2 liter of Coca-Cola every
In
day.
that
So
case, how is he not 500 pounds? Because it's like, you can say high metabolism, but he's almost 40.
he might have celiac or one of those things that prevents you from. I don't know.
But yeah, he has described just on the diabetes. He has described previously how like he like mistakes like he's getting like shocks or like feeling kind of like electric tingles in his like left arm or something, and thinks that's like, oh, that's a sign of the dimensional merge, but it's probably just, I don't know, something really bad.
Like how we thought the unclit was a sign that he was becoming a woman.
I'm still surprised if that's really that true. How is he not dead?
I think one of the White Knights convinced him to go to the doctor finally.
I think there's more to it too. I think that like there's probably like he probably consumes less food than you think. Because no, I think he goes into autistic coma, as we've called it, and he doesn't eat for like maybe like 12 hours on end or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
The thing is, he still looks in absolutely horrendous health because, like, his hair. I mean, he looks like Ben Franklin in terms of like long hair, but it's balding. I love the fact that this is just one of the funny things is when he dyed his hair because he wanted to dye his hair blue or bluish green. He didn't understand that if you dye your hair, you have to bleach it white first in order for the color to come out. He didn't know that, so it just permanently now looks like a disgusting seaweed green, and he looks like a witch.
To go back to just the meta narrative for a minute, I think it's pretty much Court's post. What was his name? What was the name of the guy with George Floyd again? The guy who
Derek
took a knee.
Chauvin.
Yeah, I think post Derek Chauvin, and this has been a thing for a while, courts don't even pretend that they aren't motivated by the mob anymore. So I think if Chris Chan or at least one of his representatives was smart, they just turn this into an identity politics issue and just say this whole thing is because Chris is trans. And who knows? He might be able to get off just on that grounds.
It goes to the Supreme Court and they fully recognize, trans rights.
No, they just call. They just no. They just he plays this off as homophobia or transphobia or something like
But
that.
it just wants because like he's legally changed his name so many times, it would legitimately be like the state of Virginia versus Sonichu. That would be the title of the case.
So, like, do you think that's a possibility, Serp?
But
That his
that
identity as a
well, no, because so there would have to be some kind of okay. So the mechanism for this to occur, he would have to either have trolls pay a law firm to represent him, which is possible, or you would have to have some kind of transsexual rights law firm swoop in on his behalf.
no, I was
Because
thinking
I don't
more.
think I don't think a public defender would do that.
No, I'm thinking more some like activists or something. Um, might take a side,
definitely it's possible.
and that he might get off, like, because he is like a member of. Would you say they're the highest group in society, trannies, or?
I think that there's worship of black people.
Okay.
I mean, this
yeah.
this Simoon Bells or whatever madness is just insane.
Okay, yeah, I'd say blacks are at the top, and then it's like trans, and then
What about like the tiers of white liberal women?
they aren't actually that high. Um,
But remember from the Miyamoto saga, his lawyer's gonna be Jay-Z.
that would be amazing. So is he just sleeping in jail now? Because I don't.
Yep.
Or has some
He's been
troll?
in jail for like
in
3
jail.
days.
Or has
No, he cannot. They prevent it. He has no bail. He can't be released on bail.
Oh, is it because he doesn't have the money, or is it just because he's not allowed?
No,
Oh,
because
no,
of crime
no one is
associated.
allowed. No one is allowed to release him on bail because they have prior knowledge of the trolls.
Do you think there'll be a GoFundMe for his legal defense fund?
Probably.
I don't think it's gonna get very
It
high.
might not be. No, it might. They'd have to do their own website. Like, apparently I mean, he's been taken off Patreon. They might have to do their own website, like Kyle Rittenhouse.
I'm just imagining is the defense lawyer, like, let's say they're just a person that is like, I don't really care about this case, but this is what the Constitution says I have to defend him. The person having to read through all of this, the jurors, the judge, everyone having to become educated on this. I mean, I guess there's the benefit of that. All of this lore and all of this information is just right there available. I guess if the quickie ever comes back in full force, but they're
Wait until there's a Netflix original series.
this is gonna be like our OJ trial.
So I don't know. I don't really like to make predictions because they're often wrong. But I'm more on board that he's either going to get off or get a slap on the wrist.
And I guess I'm on the side if he's gonna actually face at least a year in jail. That I mean, you guys can disagree with me. I think he's gonna. I think this is finally like he's actually gonna face real consequences.
Now, will he go to a male or female prison?
They have like a transgender like department of prisons, but also like there's now a thing in California where like transgender or men that are trans, so they think they're women, are like raping and impregnating women in women's only prisons. Like, so that's a thing now.
Am I a bad person for more being amused than horrified by that?
Yes and no. Like I mean, they are all criminals, but still, like I hate the idea of prison rape because like, what if you were just like, you were a thief, you just stole something, you don't deserve that.
Sorry, I'll get back to this in a second. I've actually decided I'm in favor of just allowing trans males to participate in women's sports just for the lulz because they're just gonna win every event. And
Well, that
Apparently, that didn't happen at the Olympics.
oh, it
Yeah.
didn't. Did they allow trannies to
The
participate?
guy that was allowed in, like,
they were allowed in, but they completely fucked it up.
yeah,
Like the transgender male lost, or the transgender woman lost in like the weightlifting thing. I guess I'm thinking, and like also that person did not look like they were in good shape. Maybe because on average men are so much stronger than women, they thought they didn't actually have to train at all. But no.
So, yeah, someone says the lifter was 42 years old. Okay, so maybe they were old. Um, but yeah, so Christian, I'm gonna say this. I don't think he's morally responsible. I don't think he's been morally responsible for his actions since the Michael Schneider thing. I think the fact that the state didn't take that opportunity to do something about it has kind of taken it away from him because he just shouldn't be allowed to function in society. And we were talking about this the other day. This is one of like Reagan's 40 big-brained ideas, like, oh, let's get rid of mental institutions. How could that go wrong? So, yeah.
So let's say he does go to a mental institution. What if we're gonna have the One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest saga, and he escapes? The
He'll
trolls help.
probably. It's very easy to escape. Yeah, it'll probably happen. Like I said, I think that what's going to happen when Barb dies or he escapes or leaves a mental institution is that it's going to be a series of couch surfing sagas.
Would he
I
like
think
him going from like
troll to troll to troll.
yeah, because they're gonna think, well, I have my own pet Chris Chan now,
Mm-hmm.
or he ends up in the woods and people mistake him for a cryptid.
Or like,
He's gotten to the level of infamy that like he's reached national news now.
do you think like, or maybe some gay people will
Books
pick
are
him up?
being written about him.
Oh yeah, did you know that, Argent? Somebody wrote a book that kind of compared the life of him to Andy Warhol, and I guess in terms of people that were just kind of, it's like Andy Warhol is somebody that was kind of such on the nose of tapping into and like, kind of creating artwork about pop culture, whereas Chris is like somebody that's just totally subsumed and consumed.
I thought you were
by
gonna
pop
say
culture.
Andy Rees-Worski for a minute.
No, not Andy Warhol. That's another kettle of fish. But no, Andy Warhol, who was apparently a devout, practicing like Eastern Rite Catholic, despite his behavior. But I I'm not a fan of his art, but I might have a sneaking suspicion that was the point. But yeah, they
Okay,
compare him.
Serp, where would you put Chris on your tier list of cryptids?
Me?
He's S. He's real.
Does he count as a cryptid at this point?
No, I mean he's a well documented animal.
Right.
He's gonna be he's people are gonna see, oh, is that Bigfoot? But no, it's Bigfoot in a stupid striped shirt.
Well, have you seen people of like taking the videos of in real life? They're
Yeah.
similar to Bigfoot videos where
Oh
people
no,
like scream and stuff.
like when he's at the Five Nights at Freddy's, five Fridays after five in like Ruckersville or whatever, and he's just like out there with a muscle bra that says "Want Woman" on it, and he's like swinging his arms like a gorilla.
Yeah, so I don't really know what else to say. I just think it's like it's just fucked. I think I guess kind of my final thought on it is I wonder if this is like what how demons like gaslight people into turning to evil. And like the trolls are a good metaphor for how demons screw with people. What do you guys think?
For me, if I could say something, is that in a way I kind of want Chris to be as publicized and this to go as big as possible, just so that people are forced to see what the fruit of modernity is. Since Chris is like the complete culmination of everything wrong with post-modernity, they have to see this is what it looks like. And it's, of course, like the trans community hates him because obviously, oh, this is another, example of a trans person that's a disgusting degenerate and now, a sexual predator. So like him being in the public view is actually going to be it'll discredit a lot of some of like these modern degeneracies, just at least a little bit. What do you think, sir?
Um, I think that there's some sort of like divine irony in all this. Like he is the symbol of the internet gone awry.
Yeah, so I didn't really have a ton else to say. Did either of you, have some concluding statements or anything else you wanted to add?
I think those were the concluding statements.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thanks a lot for coming on, guys. Particularly,
Thanks
Sir,
for
thank you for giving all the background that I hadn't really been following.
It's particularly more dense, confusing, and disturbing now, I think.
Hmm.
I have a feeling, just as my last thought though, is that in some way Lovecraft would have looked at Chris Chan and thought, yeah, I predicted some of this. I was prophetic about some of like the stuff in my books. Chris is like a Cthulhu like character.
Right. Okay. Well, thanks for coming on, guys. Okay, so that's about it. I hope people enjoyed that. I guess if nothing else you can take away from this is repent, get right with God. Um, it's this is kind of the world we live in. We live in a fallen, sad world, and really all we ultimately have is Christ. So I don't really know what else to know about that, say than that. So God bless, guys. Lots more quality content to come, and I'll talk to you all later.